Hey guys, this is just an intro I wanted to make because I kind of fucked up the audio in the beginning of this thing, but I wanted to just make a quick video of me reacting to NakeyJakey's Last of Us 2 video that just came out. I love NakeyJakey's content. I just want to put that out there for the record. I love his stuff, and I think that he does a lot of great things. I wanted to make this video because my previous video was about Last of Us 2, and obviously I have a lot of opinions about it, and I wanted to get a couple of friends together and watch this video and discuss it. If I edit it, I'm gonna be editing this, so it's gonna be, you know, me mostly like just his points that I disagree with and the rest of it. If you don't see stuff, that's mostly because I agree with it, and you know, I agree with a lot of what he says. I'm gonna be editing this a little bit, but not a lot like my usual videos, so this is a bit of a low effort thing. I just wanted to just put out there so that way I can have something out there, and so I can just create stuff. Videos have been very hard to make currently. I talk about it later in the conclusion of the video, but yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, thank you. Okay, you guys ready?
Like Last of Us 2?
Yeah, I don't know, it's just a garbage game.
You like Last of Us 2? The game you won't stop talking about?
Listen, okay, it's not that I don't stop talking about it, it's that it's often something that I bring up when I talk about criticisms of other media with the fandom is involved, because there's a lot of blowback. Anyway, let's keep going. Alright, let's start up and go.
Extreme camps of this game is a profound 10 out of 10 masterpiece work of art that belongs in the goddamn Smithsonian. And Camp B, this game broke into my house, it bonked me on my forehead, and physically assaulted me.
Yeah.
This video belongs to neither the extreme opinion of 10 out of 10 masterpiece or I'm gonna commit a crime now. So if that's...
For the record, I'm not on either side. I think that it's a very good game that has a lot of flaws, and I think that that's something that I put up in my video kind of pretty concretely, that it's not a perfect game, and I think that, you know.
I think any sane person could say that about a thing that they like. And
Yeah.
if you're on either of those sides, you like need to take a step back.
Yeah, it's definitely not like, even, I mean, like, yeah, exactly. I think you're right.
There are plenty of other dog shit extreme videos on this website.
Like mine!
Satisfy that
Like
hunger.
mine!
They have provided me with quality entertainment, visual spectacle, and comfort for the past 13 years.
Love the
since I
Uncharted
first
series.
rented Uncharted 1 at a Hollywood video.
Love the Uncharted
and
series.
even longer if you count their PS2 and PS1
Is that
games.
Jack
the
and
first
Daxter?
Last of Us is
Yep,
one of my
they made Jack and
favorite games
Daxter and
ever,
Crash.
I also personally know people that
playing that
worked
on
on
the
both
PSP.
Part 1 and Part 2 that I'm very fond of.
He's
and very
fucking
proud of
biased!
because they crunched like a
He's biased!
How dare he have opinions?
How dare he have friends?
How dare he have friends that worked on the game?
And I also think that when I finished this game, it made me feel very similar to when I finished the game released in 2013. And that game is BioShock Infinite. To anyone that hasn't played these games yet, this is your point of no return. I will be spoiling.
Uh-oh, that's a bad thing, because often
TV and
that
Uncharted
people
4
don't like that
because it's
ending.
a really dumb joke that I... Okay, now, do the flip. Do the flip. Or don't. Stick
Do a
around
flip
if
right
you're
now.
not doing the flip.
Sure,
But if you're
please.
going,
Okay, I
you
just gotta
gotta
do
do the flip now. But anyways, maybe grab
can't.
some snacks.
I can't do a flip.
Maybe grab
I wish
some
I could.
veggies.
I can't though.
Maybe get nice and blanket
Toasty.
because this one is characters. Typically, I am like 100% motivated by gameplay because I have a special medical condition that me and my brother Isaac refer to as Goopy Goblin Gamer Brain. Goopy Goblin Gamer Brain. basically
I have-
means that
I
you
have that.
Little to no patience for anything.
Triple
that
GB.
is slow-ass scripted prestige gameplay where you have to suffer.
I fucking hate that shit so much. I hate specifically that.
Oh,
I love
hate
Spider-Man.
I hate the fucking Mary Jane parts. Holy
I
shit,
hate, oh my
so
god.
The
The Miles Morales parts, don't forget. Miles Morales also did that shit.
Oh yeah, and
I
Miles.
think it's
Everybody has Goopy Goblin Gamer.
I think it's good to know. No, I don't think everyone does. I think that people that like visual novels and also like, you know, the Walking Dead games and like those kind of things, like more like, you know, story based, like Life is Strange, for example. I think that that's a thing. But like, I think a lot of people would. I hope this isn't straw manning, but I think a lot of people would like instantly disregard his arguments because, oh, you just said you don't like story games. But I think that like, specifically for talking about The Last of Us 2, it's important to denote that it's both a story and like it's not just a story game. It's not just a movie game. in quotes, you know? I'm sure people that don't like the game would probably call it a movie game just because they think that lots of cutscenes and an actual story that has effort into it means bad. But because, yeah, yeah.
Can I just say I hate unskippable cutscenes? Like, before this video started, I was literally complaining when I was playing Genshin Impact about how, like, all of the cutscenes are fucking unskippable, and I hate it.
I think
why does it make it harder to play the game? Let me play the game that you have created, miHoYo.
Yeah, I think for specifically Genshin Impact, it's a big thing because you can skip, like, it's an MMO, and you can skip most things in an MMO, and also the story of Genshin Impact isn't that good. But also,
is it really an MMO because it's mostly single player?
It's marketed as an MMO. I'm gonna say that it's an MMO. I think that it's important to denote that most video games I don't have a problem with unskippable cutscenes because I want to engage in the story, and in most games the story is the thing that I go to when I play a game. I go to a game because I want good gameplay along with a good story. It doesn't have to have an amazing story. It can have a story that just fits, you know, like Doom has a fucking ridiculous story, and you know the whole lore behind Doom is insane and crazy, like detailed and just fucking metal as hell. But it fits. It's not amazing, but it fits in the story, right? But I have a problem with something like Call of Duty, where the story is mismanaged and doesn't really say that much, and is just. It's only there to bring the game things together. So if it's
Kirby, if this video gets any views, you are waving a bat at the hornet's nest right now.
Who cares? Fuck it. I say my opinion because I'm a goddamn crit. Let's get back into the video.
There's still always the initial motivator of beat Ganon. So you never stop and ask yourself, what's the point while exploring and lose immersion? Because almost everything you do is building toward that central goal of beat Ganon. Even in a game like Tony Stark's, the motivator
that is my problem with Genshin Impact, I think, also, is because the focus is kind of lost. There's no big thing other than dragon.
Find sister.
Find sister, there's a dragon, also there's like there's no like specific focus, and there's not really like a lot of stuff that it like tells you specifically through the gameplay, and also but it tells you, it goes between telling you not enough and too much, because there's unskippable cutscenes where you have to like hear about some fucking bullshit, and then also being like, but why is there a force field around that cave? And you're like, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
and you know it simultaneously doesn't tell you enough while giving you too much, and it's unfocused.
Unlike my other favorite games, the characters and storytelling actually are the main motivators for my goblin-ass brain. Don't get me wrong,
that's what good games do.
Gameplay is good and sometimes even great.
It's good story games
none
too.
Of the billionth time, and I'm just like, yeah, fuck it, sure, I don't care.
The intros to every Naughty Dog game is super fucking slow and boring.
Some of you might remember that in my Rouxls
it rivals
video, I referred to Naughty.
The beginning of any Naughty Dog game rivals, except for like maybe one or two, the slow beginnings of every Naughty Dog game rivals the fucking slow beginnings of like Persona games.
True.
Because I've replayed like a lot of my favorite Uncharted and I've replayed Last of Us a bunch of times. I've replayed the Uncharted games a bunch of times. Specifically Uncharted 1 and also 2. Not to be like, you know, I'm already shitting on my own game. I'm already shitting on the game that I like. Last of Us 1 and 2 both have very, 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 very slow openings. Last of Us 2 is more egregious because it's long and it doesn't really have anything super interesting to do constantly. And it's just a very slow opening to get to the actual meat of the game, which is in Chicago. And also, that open world section in Chicago is the worst. It's so boring. I think Last of Us 2 is the most egregious in that respect. But they do good, especially in Last of Us 1, they do a really good job of setting up the world. Last of Us 1's opening is a masterpiece. It's incredible the way that they set up that
Type
thing.
B, the game is consistent enough with the limited ways you do interact with the world, and it ends up using those simple mechanics in clever ways, like when Ellie sees the giraffes and knocks down the ladder. At this point, you've done the whole ladder business with Ellie like a gajillion times, so it's very likely in this surprising moment that Joel and the players share the same emotion of, oh shit, what's going on? I gotta get up there. Which is
I think it's important that that he actually talked about this, because Last of Us, really, the first one really did that well. Because if you played like the Uncharted games, usually like pressing triangle, you go up to a thing and then you stand there with your hands on your knees and then like push someone up, and you do that like all the time. But in Last of Us, first off, there was a moment that I was like, what the fuck? Because I'd played like all the Uncharted games and they always do that. And then for the first time, when you're Ellie, you're the actually one getting boosted up instead of someone else. And I was like, oh, holy shit! And
wait, is that an actual thing where like you boost someone up in Naughty Dog games?
In Naughty Dog games, it's a thing that happens all the time, where you stand into a place and you boost someone up, they lower down a ladder, and then you climb up the thing and then you go together. Yeah, that's a thing that happens all the time in Naughty Dog games. And it's really important to, specifically in that moment, because after, this is kind of spoilers, but after that moment specifically in Last of Us, Ellie had just killed someone with an axe, like in the face, and was very traumatized by that moment, and it still was like haunting her. And there were moments where there's actually a moment right before that where you actually you actually go over to a thing and then ask her to like, you know, get boosted up so that way she can get the ladder, and you stand there and then you wait for a little bit and then she doesn't come, and then Joel's like, Ellie, we gotta go, and then you do it again to like push it up, and like those little moments of like breaking that formula, especially for someone that has played those games before, and since it's at this moment is at the end of the game, it really does like feel important, and like in the kind of like breaking of like, oh yeah, she is actually troubled by what happened and that kind of thing. Like you feel that through the gameplay, which is cool.
So, yeah.
That's pretty much the thing. I think with the crux of the video, this is me predicting, but I think the crux of the video is going to be that he has a problem with the fact that it's a linear structure, and that that if you don't, I think that's a good point to bring up. I think that, like, you know, if you don't agree with the characters, which a lot of people don't, I think the fact that it doesn't have, you know, choices,
multiple endings.
The fact that it doesn't have choices that you can make in this game specifically about the cycle of violence and choosing to keep going, and the fact that I think the problem is that, yeah, I think it's a decent point to bring up. Honestly, I do.
Death is, some other people might not exactly feel that way about Joel biting the dust, and might not be connecting with Ellie's bloodlust very much, thus making this potentially a pretty complicated motivator for the people that maybe don't really want to go to Seattle just to kill a bunch of people that have names now. But on the flip side, that's the exact thing that
okay, that's one point I disagree on. I think the problem isn't that they didn't connect with Ellie. It was the problem that they did connect with Ellie, but they didn't want...
They didn't connect with the ending.
They didn't connect with the ending, and they didn't connect with the end result of it. Mostly from the reaction that I saw from fans was that they connected with the fact that, like, oh shit, we're gonna fucking kill Abby, and then they didn't. And then, because of that, they were disappointed. So... yeah.
You meet at a kiddie pool. The lesson here is that every person you meet and every person you kill could have their own Ellie or their own Joel, just like Abby and her dad, who again saves zebras. There's two sides to every story, and this story is about loss and the destructive cycle of violence and forgiveness. And we're gonna explore those themes in gameplay by having you pop pills to get better headshots and more violent melee kills. And it turns out, dying might actually be kind of bad. Because war might be kind of bad, too? What the fuck? Okay, hold on, though, teacher.
Okay. Take a minute. Okay, so, the thing is, I disagree with this, and I think it's a bit hypocritical that you talked about how... I think it's hypocritical how he talked about how complex the story is, and yet in the same breath talk about how the themes are not as complex. Like, they're one and the same. If you the themes are only the themes can only be as complex as the story is, right? So if the story is complex enough, then it makes the presentation of those ideas complex enough to, you know, really get. And I think that in a lot of ways it's very obvious what it's trying to say. I don't think that it's not very difficult to see what it's trying to say. It's obvious what the game's message is. But I think it's also important to realize that just because the messages of the games are obvious, that doesn't make it any less bad. It just makes it like the presentation is the important part of, you know, the presentation of if the presentation of the ideas is complex enough to be interesting and still deliver those same ideas, I think it's all the better, right? Especially for a gaming audience whose like attention spans are nil and think that Call of Duty is anti-war when they just put up a fucking George Orwell quote on the thing and be like, see, we're anti-war. Now go fucking do some drone strikes, right? And I think that there is something to say about like the similarities between those two examples, you know? Where in Last of Us 2, you are, you know, fucking up shit and popping pills to get better headshots, while also being told that violence is bad. I get the ludonarrative dissonance there, and how that's any different from Last of Us, or from how Last of Us is any different from Call of Duty, is that Call of Duty specifically tries to steer away from that, steer away from the anti-war stuff, and just put a little bit in enough so that way it feels like you're actually experiencing something that tries to say, but it's not actually saying anything. Last of Us 2 actually has something to say. It's simple, and it's told in a very obvious way, but it's still there. Call of Duty doesn't have anything to say, other than war is bad, but not really go get some headshots. That's really all it's saying. And I think that it's important to kind of differentiate between the two if we go forward, because yeah.
I think he's mixing up dissonance between the story and the gameplay, and looking back on what you did in the game and thinking, oh shit, I shouldn't have done those things. Even though, like, Last of Us doesn't give you a choice, but it's like putting yourself in the character's shoes and thinking, maybe those things that I as the character did were bad, and like, even though we're in like a post-apocalyptic warscape or whatever the hell The Last of Us is about,
it's pretty...
it encourages some kind of reflection on the story.
I think, yeah, I think the thing is, right, I think that brings up a great point, that the whole linearity of the story is meant to kind of be like, yeah, I'm fucking killing shit, and keep you pumped up, while also having quiet moments to look back and reflect, right? And that can seem like it's manipulative, or not manipulative, more like conflicting, and that can feel conflicting as well, because you're supposed to be conflicted. You're supposed to be like, well, I need to kill these things, and I need to kill these people in order to get past them, and in order to go forward with the story, and I need to, yeah. I think that's a, yeah. I think that's a good point. Okay, let's keep going.
I know that violence and dying and war and revenge are all bad and toxic things. So what are you showing me that's emotionally engaging or thought-provoking using the interactive nature of video games, like you did with the relationship of Ellie and Joel in the first game? Well, I mean, there's some stuff. You know,
I don't think that's a very fair criticism. I think that it does exactly the same thing. Like, Last of Us 1 does the same exact thing as Last of Us 2, but it has a very engaging relationship at the center of it. I think that it says... here's the thing. I think that Last of Us 1 says something a lot... very similar, but the opposite kind of side of it, where, like, you know, the story... like, Last of Us 1 is a story about love, Last of Us 2 is a story about hate, right? And it's those two very simple concepts, but Last of Us 1 has a central relationship that's very, very, very engaging. Last of Us 2 doesn't really have that, and what instead is the hate between Abby and Ellie, but because hate's a very difficult thing to kind of tell together, because, you know, you're supposed to be separate and you're supposed to have this far long distance hatred with this person, it's a lot more difficult to kind of present, because the relationship between Ellie and Joel was a loving relationship that you could tell was being cultivated throughout the entire game. Abby and Ellie's relationship of hate between those two characters is a lot more abstract and long distance. So, like I said, it's much more difficult to represent and demonstrate.
But unless it's a character that Ellie kills in a cutscene, it basically didn't happen. Because Ellie chooses to spare her greatest enemy, who she has no real reason to empathize with, only after she's killed literally dozens of
Okay, hold on. No. That's the whole fucking point. That's the whole point of the... Okay, here's the thing. The final battle...
Can you explain what you just said?
Okay, what he's saying is that, sparing Abby at the end is inconsistent because she's killed so many, right? Because she's killed so many, it's inconsistent for her character to then forgive Abby at the end of the game, which doesn't really make much sense, because that is her turning point. That is the moment when she realizes that it's all going to keep on going unless she stops then, right? Because the reason why those kills kept on happening is because she kept on going on her journey, and if she left, those murders wouldn't have happened, right? And I guess, yes, I agree that if, like, you're able to leave at any time for... The problem is that if you're asking for player agency in that moment, you can't really do much with that, because there's no point in... What, you just want, like at the end of the day, should you just be given a choice to leave? And then that's the end of the game, and then, oh, now you won. Now the cycle of violence ended, right? No, you have to keep on going. You have to keep on pushing on as Ellie, even though the game is telling you this is a horrible thing that you're doing, and it's supposed to be that it is effective, because you have to keep going, knowing that you're doing bad things.
So what I'm getting is that The Last of Us 2 is like, if you're forced to do a genocide run in Undertale, and then it gives you the choice to stop and be better, other than, instead of punishing you relentlessly over and over in a super
This is
hard
what it's kind of
fight.
like. This is what it's kind of like. It's like if you went through... It's like forcing you through a genocide run, and at the end, when Sans is asking you to forgive you, he actually does forgive you. And then you go your separate ways.
Well, not forgive you, but, like, takes your word.
Takes your word, and you guys actually spare each other. That's essentially what it is. Like,
He's saying you'll stop here, and
then
the
this will all
murders
stop.
the murders you've committed are horrible, but if you won't commit any more, then you can become a better person.
Exactly. That point is a turning point for Ellie, because it's the first step to her better life, and it's the first step to stopping the cycle of violence. Because, like I laid out in my other video, it goes from Joel killed Abby's father, Abby kills Joel, and then Ellie kills all of Abby's friends. Abby kills all of Ellie's friends. Ellie is confronted with Abby after they've all gone through this horrible journey together, and then and then what would happen if Ellie killed Abby? Then Lev would just come after Ellie, right? The cycle of violence has to stop, because the cycle of violence has to stop at that moment. Otherwise, it would just keep on going, and then she would die, or she would lose other people that she loves, right?
Like better to stop at some point than to never stop.
Exactly. It's not inconsistent to suddenly be like, wait a minute, this has... Yeah, it's not inconsistent at that point. It's just the game. It's just... It's hard to explain. It's not inconsistent, it's just... In that moment, that's the turning point. And just because the whole game was leading up to this point, and then was like, oh, you don't get the satisfying ending, this is how this whole shit works, violence isn't supposed to be satisfying, and you know, violence in real life isn't supposed to be satisfying. You're supposed to stop the cycle of violence. So
Metal Gear Solid 3 on the PlayStation 2. It also made me think about my violent actions and my personal cycle of violence as the player more than part 2.
Okay, I just want to make a statement. It's not specifically your sorrow, or it's not specifically your cycle of violence. Metal Gear Solid 3 does a really good job. It does a really good job. It does. But it's not... But I think you're mistaking your actions as the player from the character's actions. Because if those are intrinsically the same, and that's how you criticize games, that's fine. But if you're in a story, you're not talking about your own cycle of violence. You're talking about the game's cycle of, or the character's cycle of violence. That was the end. That was the character's cycle of violence, and you're supposed to think about the character's cycle of violence. Are those supposed to be the same? It depends on how you really experience games, I think. If you really want to intrinsically be a part of that character's world, I think that's a fair thing to criticize. I think that's a fair preference. But it comes down to preference, right? Because it comes down to preference because at the end of the day, if you really want to feel like you're part of this character, rather than seeing a character from an outside point of view and then controlling their actions separately, and you can kind of separate that part of your brain, and, you know, experience a story that way, I think that's also a fair point, you know? Because I can do that, but I understand why people...
About some dude named Danny, who I had never seen or heard of prior to this moment in the game. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a okay. Can I just say there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems in this game. That's a big one that they use as a crucial plot point. That a side character had left an organization because apparently he had killed a person that they had all knew, and he had never shown up in the game before, not even in flashbacks. And that's why he had left. It's a very, very weak plot point, and it's very not goodly written. You get what I'm saying?
Not very goodly designed.
Not very well designed. That's a valid criticism, but bad plot point. Didn't like it.
You know what would have been brave? A AAA game that didn't resort to mindless violence that doesn't actually mean anything as like the primary gameplay mechanic. That's why I said this game made me feel like how BioShock
okay.
Infinite did. Because like Infinite, The Last of Us Part 2 also made a decision to highlight the violent actions of the protagonist as a central part of the story, as a way to emotionally manipulate the player, but commits to none of those themes in actual gameplay. It's still mindless shooting that doesn't mean anything.
Again, I have to say that's not the point. It's not just like every other thing, because in every other game, they don't bring up the violence of your actions. They don't. Right? So in this game they do, because they say you're a violent person. That is bringing it up. That is dissecting it. Is it going far enough like Metal Gear Solid 3 did? No. But is it doing it at all? Yes. It is. It is bringing up that point. Just because it's not going as far as other games have doesn't mean it's not doing it. Right?
Bad or shouldn't mechanics like Shadow of the Colossus that use those mechanics in a consistent way to tell a powerful story, where the violent motivations of the player and protagonist to go kill a bunch of giant monsters because, hey, it's a video game and it looks fun and cool and I gotta save the princess, right?
I don't see the difference in how Last of Us 2 is any different from Shadow of the Colossus. I don't see any difference in the way that it portrays violence. I don't. Because it's the same thing. You're forced to kill things because it's a video game, and it's not slowly flipped on its head, it's immediately flipped on its head. You are told that it's a bad thing, and you're told through gameplay that it is a bad thing to do because they have families and they have people that care about them, and you have people that are looking for them when you kill them. It's not any different, I don't think. I don't consider it any different, so I don't know why.
When does Shadow of the Colossus tell you what you're doing is bad?
At the end.
Played it in a while.
At the end, I don't remember exactly what it was, but essentially, like, slowly you start to realize, like, oh, these are just animals. These are just animals. Oh, well, actually, you do kind of learn about it through the gameplay where, like, you know, there's a moment where, like, you're fighting an enemy that's, like, afraid of fire, and it's, like, afraid of you as you, like, kind of...
Oh, that small one.
Yeah. like, you kind of slowly, like, learn through the behavior of the monsters that that you're the bad guy, and that you're the one that's hunting them, right? So, but is it more subtly interesting in that game? Maybe. There could be a case that you could make that it is, but it's not any different from how Last of Us 2 does it, because you think that it's good to kill people because it's a video game, and then it tells you throughout the game, and it shows you at the end of the game that forgiveness is a thing that you can do. It's not like you can, but again, it's not like you can choose to kill or not to kill the shadows of the Colossus. No. It tells you that you need to kill these things. So I don't know why that's any different. Why?
Pregnant Dina, compared to characters like Tess or even Bill in the first game, Dina doesn't seem to have any thoughts or motivations that hold actual significant importance to the plot at all, other than bailing Ellie out of jail and blindly agreeing and supporting Ellie all the time and saying shit like, "You're so stupid."
Dina isn't a very well-written character. I don't think that she's very interesting, and especially compared to the Last of Us 1 characters, I don't think that she does very much. But she's an integral character that, especially in the end of the game, which I think is what he's about to talk about right now, in the end of the game, when she finally loses her, it is representative of what she's doing. She's throwing away her old relationships in order to get some satisfaction out of revenge, right? And I think that's a very, very important purpose that she serves within the story. However, it doesn't mean that she's a good... It would have been better, it would have been much more better and more impactful if we actually cared about Dina. It would have been much more impactful if Dina was a better character. I still think that she does a good job, but it would have been much better if she was a better character. So, half points.
No, dude, why in the world is an 8-month pregnant woman being deployed out into the field to fight either murderous cultists?
Okay, this is a little inconsistency that a lot of people bring up, that isn't actually true. She's not being deployed. She's 8 months pregnant, yes, but she's not being deployed. She is being taken to the front lines to do, like, to heal, because she's a doctor. She's not going to fight people. She's not a soldier that's going out to fight. She is going to the front lines to be a doctor.
None of that matters at the end of the day, because this is Ellie's hollow and inconsistent story of violent actions and motivation.
It's not inconsistent. The ending was supposed to be a turning point. That's the whole point. Again, I have to just say that because it's not inconsistent. A character can change. That's the whole point of a character changing over the narrative. Okay, I think that's the end. Okay, I have to redo this because I was stupid and I didn't record the audio correctly, so I'm dumb. I think in conclusion that he had a very important point about consistency, and that importance about Ellie being consistent throughout her entire journey kind of came down to him just kind of misinterpreting how the ending was, and it was less of oh, you killed all these people and then you saved this one person, what's the point of it? That's the whole point of the thing, is that you're supposed to she's forgiving Abby for all the things that she's done, like Abby forgave Ellie for doing all the things that she's done. That's not inconsistent at all. I don't see why that's inconsistent for Ellie when it's similarly consistent with Abby. Lev was there to tell Abby to stop, and then Joel was there technically in a flashback to tell Ellie to stop. That's inconsistent for him to say that it's not the same either way. My point is that I agree with a lot of the points in this video. I just think that the specific point about consistency and the problem with the ending is less... It's shakily founded, and I don't think it's a very well-made point. However, I agree with a lot of things that he said. I think that the gameplay is not perfect. I don't think it's a perfect game. Again, I have to reiterate every time I bring this up. Every time I bring this game up, I don't think that it's a perfect game. There are a lot of very, very bad things about this game. But that doesn't excuse the fact that it's a very well-made game, and it says that it says its points very well. All right.
TLDR, Sharpies talks too much about The Last of Us 2.
This is gonna be
I promise that the next video isn't about The Last of Us 2, I swear.
This is okay. So I wanted to make this video because I wanted to make something and I wanted to just put it out quickly while my other video was being made. I do have another video in the works. It's gonna be about teen TV, and I'm gonna give a bunch of recommendations on it. This whole channel isn't just gonna be Last of Us 2 bullshit, blah blah blah. I am actually going to be making actual things. It's just that school has been fucking bogging me down and a bunch of other stuff, and I've gotten a lot of different things. I'm trying to hang out with my friends because I'm a fucking kid still. I'm 20 now, but I still want to, you know, hang out with my friends, and I want to do stuff. And in conclusion, I'm gonna be making more of these quick kind of videos, these reaction videos. I like making them, and I like having my friends listen to me talk while I, you know, do these kinds of shit, because I have a lot of opinions on stuff, and I'd rather, you know, rant them out and kind of just bring out these videos. And there's going to be more edited videos, but I want to just kind of get these stuff out because I have a lot of thoughts about a lot of things, as my friends can. Is this not going to be edited? No, it is going to be edited. Just like edited down to where it's, you know, it's more of my opinions compared to his, rather than not fully edited. You know, like my other videos where I, you know, I put background music and all these amazing things and that kind of stuff. This is just going to be thrown out and going to be just a quick video that I just kind of blah, and I just kind of edit it a little bit and then boom, just sends out, because I have a lot of thoughts, and as my friends are constantly tortured about, I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I like to talk about. And yeah, maybe I'll start streaming or something, that and I'll put the VODs up and maybe be a Vosh person, but for, you know, gaming controversy and stuff, because I like to react to stupid people. And this was a great video. I like this video a lot, and it was a good video, but there are a lot of stupider people out there that I disagree with, and I'd love to make these kinds of videos more, where I pause the video and make a few jabs at people that have way bigger followings than me. So yeah.
Anyways, you guys heard of Trump?
If you guys like this video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, comment, fucking ring that bell, dude. Fucking anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully I can come up with a new video soon, and yeah, bye.